The Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by the boundlessly capable, all-electric EQS SUV from Mercedes-Benz. The vehicle all-electric, the feeling is all Mercedes. Learn more at MBUSA.com/EQS-SUV. He's our good friend, Chase Daniel, former NFL quarterback and a Super Bowl champ with the Saints, and the Chase Daniel Show on YouTube channel. He joins us on the program. All right, let me start with the poll question from hour one. Who got the better end of the deal, the Falcons or the Vikings, with Kirk Cousins leaving to go to Atlanta?
I mean, I think it's the Falcons, in my opinion. Look, the NFC South every single year is very winnable. And if you just look at the offensive playmakers, which everyone's been talking about, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, they've got some legitimate guys down there, and they've just needed a quarterback since Matt Ryan left in 2022. So I do think Kirk is the quarterback for them to be able to consistently compete in that division. Obviously, what the Bucs did in free agency, I've loved it. They've sort of kept a lot of their own and traded away that corner. But when you look at the Falcons, they're a quarterback away. And then when you go to the Vikings, right, like obviously they're probably going to re-sign Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison last year as well. You get Aaron Jones coming over. So they're sort of reloading as well. But I think that just leaves a bigger hole. I know they signed Sam Darnold. They're really bullish on Drake May, but they're drafting 11. And I just don't know if Drake May is going to be there for them. And so it looks like a little bit more of a longer, I wouldn't say rebuild, but a retool for them, because you still don't know. You don't know what you're going to get in Sam Darnold. And look, I've heard people say in that building, look, well, we've got a system around us. We've got playmakers. We've got all that. And yes, the system's great. Obviously coming from the Sean McVay tree, a little bit of Kyle Shanahan in that KOC offense. But I just think they're going to have a more difficult time with the quarterback play, because look, if they end up somehow getting up to draft a quarterback high enough that they really like, there's going to be some growing pains. And you're not sure Sam Darnold's going to be the answer. With Kirk, obviously, like a lot of things that we're not talking about, he's got to pass that physical with his Achilles. That's a big deal for me. I think it's going to be all right. But you sign him for a 4-year deal. It's technically really a 2-year maybe $300 million guaranteed. I mean, he's a amazing dude and even better businessman at the bank, because he's getting the bag everywhere he goes. He's like $417 million through his playing career, which is absurd. But he's always been that guy that has played really well, but only has one playoff win to show. And that was that New Orleans one, that last second victory down there in New Orleans. So a lot to go on there, but I do think the Falcons won this one.
Yeah, but he had weapons in Minnesota and didn't do much with them. Now he's going to Atlanta and he has weapons there. I know the division is there for them to win. I think they're listed as the favorites now. I've said coming off Achilles surgery and at that age, I mean, that's tricky right there. I don't know. It feels like the Vikings going to draft a quarterback, have that quarterback sit behind Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's 26, by the way.
Yeah.
You're going to draft somebody.
Young.
And, you got weapons there. You got Aaron Jones there. Granted, I thought the Packers had a great day yesterday. And,
amazing.
The Lions are going to still be formidable. The Bears may get it right. And, the Vikings might be stuck in neutral here for at least a year. So I kind of understand both sides of this acquisition.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Minnesota didn't want to go to that number, right?
Yeah.
That big number. And I get it for a guy that's 35, 36, coming off an Achilles. But at the end of the day, Dan, you know this better than anyone. Quarterback play in our league is so low. Like, you got like the first 8 guys, 10 guys, and then I don't care what anyone tells you, those next 21, 22 guys, people are constantly looking for those. Kirk's one of those 10 guys, in my opinion, that can play at a high level, even coming off an Achilles. So you don't know what you're getting in.
He's
Sam
a
Darnold.
top 10 quarterback. Kirk Cousins
Oh.
is when he's healthy, he's a top 10 quarterback.
I agree.
No, I'm asking you. You agree? Okay.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Especially with, if you just look at what he's done numbers wise. And I know he hasn't really crossed that threshold in playoff victories. And there was this whole thing until last year about primetime Kirk not being able to win primetime games. But I think he squashed that. And I do think this is a good like restart for him. And look, quarterbacks can play as like Breeze and Brady have shown they can play into their 40s. And I don't know if Kirk's that guy, but I do know he takes really good care of his body. And regarding the Achilles, like I was with him at Super Bowl. I was like, hey, man, how's it feeling? And he showed me the scar, which was gnarly. And he was like, dude, I'm great. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm ahead of schedule. So he's not a guy that moves around in the pocket a lot anyway. But he's that's why he keeps getting these contracts, right? Your worth is what someone's willing to pay. And he consistently gets the bag in that aspect. He consistently gets these fully guaranteed contracts. So teams around the league think highly of him. And he has played purely on the field, numbers wise. He has played like a top 10 quarterback.
Why did the Eagles pay Saquon Barkley?
Well, I don't know, but I will say just in general, the running back market is back. And I think it's tied to the cap going up. So you have this percentage of number of cap like that they want to hit with running backs. And so that's why you're seeing all these veteran running backs led by Saquon Barkley. You look at what they did last year, and the Giants were really, really bad at run blocking. They were ranked 31st in the National Football League in win block run rate, which means like Saquon was doing all this 1,000 yards behind a horrible offensive line. Like what the Eagles did, they got a hole to fill with Jason Kelce, right? There's some centers in the draft that they could do that with, but they're the first ranked team in the National Football League in run block win rate. You look at the last couple running backs have ranked 5th for Philly in yards per carry and yards rushing. And you got Saquon there. He's still young enough. He's good enough out of the backfield. And for me, it was like, all right, they don't want DeAndre Swift back, which I thought he had an amazing year, right? I thought he did. He went and got the bag in Chicago, but I like Saquon. And I love the fact that obviously I heard you guys are having Tiki on that whole, I cannot wait to watch what he has to say about that exchange. But when you look at the Eagles' offensive line, this makes all the sense in the world. They want to run the football. And I know Kellen Moore's over there, and I know he's going to have all these crazy pass plays. But at the end of the day, they want to beat you physically, and it starts up front.
Yeah, but if you have a great offensive line, do I need to have a great running back for my great offensive line? It feels like a great offensive line can help make a DeAndre Swift an all-pro running back. Why, Gainwell? Like, why do I have to spend? I mean, you spend a lot of money on Saquon. I just think they have needs elsewhere. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they do, but at the end of the day, when you get a guy like Saquon, right? Like Jalen in that offense, they regressed last year. That's why you go out. That's why you hire a guy like Kellen Moore to come in and run that offense. And he's going to be a big part of their plan. And a quarterback's best friend is a run game. And I do think Saquon brings this aura about him, this nastiness, this physicalness, just coming right down the turnpike to Philly. So I like the move. I know they have different needs elsewhere. However, it's like it's Howie Roseman season, man. He's always making splashes. He's always doing something. And look, I think this helps with the loss of the Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox, because it's like a changing of a guard there in Philly. And this is Sirianni. If he doesn't win, he's going to be on the hot seat, and he knows it. And so I think Howie's all in on this. They got a really good squad. Obviously, as for the last 2 years, they just got to figure it out.
He's Chase Daniel, former NFL quarterback, and his show, The Chase Daniel Show, on YouTube channel. What do you make of Tiki Barber's comments where he's saying to Saquon Barkley, how could you do this for your legacy with the Giants, and now you're dead to me?
Look, Saquon's trying to get money. And people don't understand at the end of the day in the NFL, your earning window is so low. And when you hear these contracts and people hear these guarantees, or this is the total amount of contract, 4-year, $50 million. Well, I want to see the guaranteed money. And quite honestly, a lot of people don't make it past half of their contract. So these NFL teams are promising this, but in reality, it's 1 or 2 years, especially running backs. I think Saquon at the end of the day wanted the money. He's not worried about his legacy. He feels like his best ball's still ahead. Or football's still ahead. And when you look at Tiki, look, I like listening to Tiki. I think Tiki's made a really good career in sports media. I think he's excellent. But look, he's paid to do that. He's paid to make headlines. He's paid to get fans and people to listen in. Now, would I have said that? No, but I get what he's saying, and I get he bleeds blue. He's a giant through and through, and I'm sure fans around New York loved it. I'm sure they got a lot of clicks. I don't think he necessarily meant it, but I do think Saquon, on the other hand, he's like, don't smile at me. Like, you better not smile at me, like, when you see me. And I just think it makes for good social media, TV talking points.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun. I mean, I'm going to be interested to see his take on it.
Yeah, because Saquon said, you've been a hater since I got to New York, and all the dead to me talk, don't smile in my face when you see me. I get what, both sides are doing here, but, Tiki did leave his team to go into TV, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl. Loyalty is, it's a strange word in today's sports society. Running out of time, Justin Fields, the market has dried up. Where can you see him? Where is a landing spot for Justin Fields?
I mean, he's got to sit. I was thinking about this. I was talking to randomly Kyle Long called me yesterday and was like, hey, what do you think Justin Fields is going to do? So we were talking through it. And I was just like, dude, it makes total sense for him to stay put, because right now the ceiling you're going to get for him if you trade him, which I don't even know where a landing spot is to be a starter, is a 6th-round pick. Maybe. I think what you do, you sit with Justin Fields on the roster, you pick Caleb Williams number 1, and I think that's what they're going to do. And I do think that you have a healthy Justin Fields on the bench. You know how many starters got hurt last year. Who knows if their number 1 pick, what's going to happen or anything else like that. It's a freak league like that. You sit, and then during trade deadline, when a starter gets hurt, because a starter's going to get hurt, I think you're going to maximize your trade value if you do want to move on from him then. Who says that you can't put Justin Fields in the game 8 to 10 times and run some quarterback run stuff? Because that's where he's best at. But I do think that Ryan Poles is trying to do right by Justin, but I just think the trade market is dried up. Like, you look at Minnesota, they're not doing that. Okay. You look at Pittsburgh, in my opinion, was the wild card in this whole situation. And if they didn't get Russ for $1.21 million, which is an absolute steal, I think they were going to kick the tires on him. And obviously Atlanta was going to trade for him if they didn't get Kirk. So all the suitors are up. You look at Gardner Minshew and at the Raiders, I think it's smart football for him to just sit in Chicago for now.
Before I let you go, Jerry Jones has said that he's all in this season. Well, they haven't done anything, and they got salary cap issues. How can you be all in? Well, I don't know what all in means. What do you think it does?
Look, I think Dallas is at a point where they like to build through the draft. They don't like to make these splash spins on money, especially when you're about to re-up Dak Prescott. He's going to make $60 million a year, in my opinion. Like, they're cash strapped. I don't know if they can spend a lot. What I do think is in his next day or two, in the wave 2 or 3 of free agency, they're going to try to get some bargain type guys. They just don't have enough money to play with right now. They obviously let Pollard walk. You got to figure out what CD Lamb's going to do. You got to figure out your left tackle spot. A lot of stuff needs to happen, and I feel like in the draft for them is probably where they're going to build.
Good to chat with you as always, Chase. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us on.
That's Chase Daniel, former NFL quarterback. He was with the Saints when they won the Super Bowl and was up for the Heisman at Missouri, 07-08, and host of the Chase Daniel Show on YouTube channel.